My name is Nate Brought, and I have a theory that Epstein Island may have been a foreign intelligence operation, or it may have been infiltrated by foreign intelligence. I did 5 years in the United States Marine Corps as an intelligence Marine. I worked at NSA, and I worked in Iraq as somebody who specialized in finding people who didn't want to be found. Based on my experience, I think that this is a plausible theory. And to talk about this with me today is my good friend Brandon, who was in the United States Air Force and also did some intelligence work.
Yep, absolutely. How you doing?
Not bad. Not bad.
There you go.
So what do you think about the plausibility of let me back up for a minute before we go on. I do want to say that being accused of crimes like Jeffrey Epstein was accused of, being accused of being in a client list, even being in a client list, does not make anybody guilty of anything. And anybody who's been accused of a crime has a right to a fair trial and full due process of the law at all times. Now, hello.
With that out of the way, hello.
So, what do you think about the plausibility of this theory? Like, obviously, we don't have access to the DOJ files. This is not classified information. This isn't based on some kind of secret knowledge, but based off of your experience, knowledge and experience in how foreign intelligence folks operate and how the U.S. operates in the intelligence space. How plausible do you think this theory is?
Honestly, I think it's really plausible. Just the way everything was set up just smells fishy from the beginning. Like, you have a specialized jet, that has been in the media as the Lolita Express. How can it not be, if not foreign, like he was gathering information for himself to blackmail or to use against the people that were on his jet and on this island. So there has to be a lot of files.
At least globally, there has to be a lot
Oh,
of
absolutely.
files, and it's hard to believe that people of this stature with this much money and this much power could be doing something like this, and it would never end up on the radar of any foreign intelligence service. And
Right.
look, there's a lot of countries and a lot of services out there where if they became aware of something like this, they'd blow the whistle on it. They'd bring in Interpol. It would get shut down. It would be a whole big law enforcement thing. But there's a lot of other intelligence services out there who, they work with forces that use child soldiers and stuff like that. They don't have these moral qualms and things like that, like you and I might have. So they would be more than happy to play along for the value of the information that they could get out of it, I would think.
No, for sure. That, again, like the plausibility, it's very high. I wouldn't say 100%, but statistically damn near close.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to accept the premise that this is plausible, if not even more likely than not. Okay. If you were going to plan an operation like this, who do you think, like what level of the organization do you think would be the best to approach, right? So like from my perspective, I could see a situation where Epstein's company is struggling a little bit. Maybe they got themselves into some kind of a hole, and somebody comes in with a wheelbarrow full of money and says, we're going to bail you out, but here's what you're going to do in return. And to me, that's the best way to do it if you have that option, because then you control the whole organization. You can tell the girls what to do, who to record. You can have the house madam or whatever they call them, in their operation, put certain clients in certain rooms.
Oh, yeah.
You can lie to them and say, oh, you don't want to use that room. That room is set up with cameras for the people who want to record their stuff. And just in case it's hacked, you should really use this room over here.
Right.
And that's the room that's full of cameras and
for sure.
shit like that. I could see approaching like the madams. That might be a little bit risky. That might be a little harder because presumably they're on the island. They're harder to get access to. You could do the support staff, the cooks, the chefs, the people who are doing the laundry, cleaning the bathroom, shit like that. But there, I'm not as sure about what their level of access is. And then the last option is you go straight to the girls.
Yeah.
And you say, look, here's what I need you to do, and I'll give you this money. But then you run into issues of you're dealing with people that are underage. Teenagers in general are not known to be the most reliable and trustworthy people on the planet. So if you were going to approach this, start with, how would you approach Epstein? How do you do that? But then kind of, if that's not an option, where's your next avenue? Because I think I would probably, if I could get access to him, I'd go for the madams after Epstein. And then I'm probably figuring out how I can approach the girls, And if you're a foreign intelligence service who doesn't give a shit about this kind of stuff, you might even train up some girls or plant some girls and send them into the pipeline so that the people that are inside the org, they have no idea.
Yeah. So, it's an old adage of the best way to keep a secret is not to tell anybody. So obviously once you start looking for people like this, that there is a possibility that it's going to get out.
Yeah.
So you have to have your back channels covered and things like that. So going after Epstein was probably a pretty easy way to go.
Because he got in some financial straits at one point, didn't he?
And
then all of a sudden he wasn't anymore.
That seems to happen a lot with people like that. But by all accounts, he was also very charismatic and outgoing. And so you get in that face man, you get the face man that has control of the money, but that money isn't his. So he knows he's got to be in line or else, he might get suicided in prison, So,
Can you imagine such a thing?
No, nobody would ever do that. And then, definitely going, to the middle management, as it were, which would be, as you say, the madams. That's you got your top, you got your middle management, and then you got your soldiers. So middle management, they don't need to know as much. They just need to know, hey, money's going to be coming in. These are the kind of girls these people like, or boys. This is what they're looking for, So, and then they are just a link in the chain. They don't know what's actually going on, but it's like the mob.
Yeah.
You have your soldiers, you have your, consigliere, however you say that. I'm not Italian, sorry. So
I think it's consigliere.
Consigliere, I believe that is correct. Yes.
I'm also not Italian, though, so take that with a grain of salt.
Right. So, it's again links and chains. But a lot of the link at the end doesn't know what the link in the front is doing.
Do we know, did Epstein make money off of this? Or was this like a social activity, that just happened to involve only, other than maybe Maxwell, rich men?
Right. Well, you also have to have that side of the face as well with Maxwell.
Yeah.
Right. I don't honestly know if he made money. It's obvious that he made connections, that he had power that was, he shouldn't have had that kind of power. But because he had stuff, allegedly, on everybody that went through his system.
Just the fact that they went through the system is dirt, pretty much. And we've already kind of seen the effects of that in some cases, where just the rumor that your name might appear on a list, brings a lot of heat onto you,
right.
Just off of the insinuation.
Right. And the whole thing is in these kind of operations, you want to deflect and that's not what happened, and you don't know, you weren't there. Here's what actually happened. Or I was never on that plane. People say I was, but they just don't like me. They're trying to drag my name through the mud. And until you release credible information, who is to say?
Yeah. So if you're running this as an operation, as an intelligence service, right? Are you going out and trying to like steer people towards this? Are you kind of collecting on who the clients end up being? And if you are going to kind of go out and steer people towards this, like obviously it's easier if you're steering people towards this who you already know they have these proclivities.
Right.
You know, like it seems way more dangerous to your operation if you're going out and like just approaching, you know, random rich men and being like, hey, so do you like to bang young girls?
Right,
you know,
right.
like that doesn't seem like a great approach. So I think you kind of target high value targets who you have some other sort of information that they're already on this side of this fence.
Right. And that's what you use Epstein for, is, or someone like him, is that you go to these high parties, these places that a normal person couldn't get into, and you're part of that high society. And you say a thing here or there. Yeah, I like them on the younger side.
Or you just fill the place with younger girls.
That as
and
well. And
see how they interact with
right. And, you know, hey, there's a couple of topless girls over by the pool. You want to go maybe check them out, you know? And yeah, wow, they look kind of young. Oh, yeah, I've checked them, though. I made
you. Oh,
sure.
don't worry.
Yeah,
about
it's
Don't
fine.
worry. It's cool.
You know, and so, and with that kind of money and power, you lose perspective. You don't, like, it's obvious that they treat humans as commodities rather than humans. So at that point, once you get them desensitized enough, you know, the nothing is a limit. And then when something is a limit, they want to push that limit and say, oh, I can get away with this. So I think it's a lot easier than you would think to do something like this, especially in those kind of circles of little suggestion here, little suggestion there. And then you say, well, normal people can't do this, but we're not normal, right? Like we're special.
We're above the law.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, and we also know just from, you know, human sexuality and experiments and stuff like that, you know, people tend to start their sexual journey on the more tame side, and then they progress if they're the kind of person who tends to progress beyond, you know,
Right.
regular vanilla type of stuff,
Quote unquote.
you know?
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how if you have access to a whole bunch of 20-year-olds when you're in your 50s, you know, maybe that's great and that's fine at first, but that shine kind of wears off. So then you want to push it a little bit more, and you already think you're extra super special because you're a billionaire and you should be able to do what you want, you know? So it's kind of a slippery slope argument, but it's a valid slippery slope argument, because we've seen this when we talk to criminals who do this kind of stuff, when they talk to rapists and things like that of, well, you know, I started off here and then that wasn't enough, so I started doing this, and then that wasn't enough. So, you know, and the next thing you know, they've got a backyard full of dead sex workers, and you know, they're like, man, how the hell did I end up here? This is a bullshit, you know? But there's consequences to actions too.
No, absolutely. There should be.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, our society does venerate people with money and equates that to knowledge and power. So there are plenty of examples in our current climate that, you know, money does buy, you know, votes and things like that. And, you know, so they don't feel like they have any consequences because at this point they don't. So when you have free reign, the human experience is going to be completely different to you. So, yeah, it's fine. I'm rich. It's fine if I, you know, she's 19. It's fine. 19 is fine. And then, well, could I meet a 17-year-old? Is that possible?
Well, you have the effect of, unfortunately, in the United States, the age of consent is not the same everywhere.
Right.
So in some places, as long as you didn't travel there for that purpose, you know, a 16-year-old can be in bounds, which is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it's
you know?
very ridiculous.
Especially if you're a 55-year-old man or whatever. Like, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
you know? So it's real easy to slide down that slippery slope without even crossing legal lines, potentially.
Sure.
You know? And then once you've gotten away with that for a while, is there that much difference between 15 and 16? You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
they pretty much act the same.
Right,
you know,
right.
like,
Yeah. You know, teens
So-
are going to be teens.
Yeah. And the more you get away with something, the more you're going to push the envelope. You know,
Sure, 'cause-
it's almost like people want to get caught, you know, so they
I mean,
they keep
yeah.
pushing the envelope until they meet some consequences. And they're like, oh, shit. Okay. That's where
Yeah.
the line is.
Oh, I finally found that line. Wow, it's been years and years and years. You know, again, that they think a lot more like teenagers than they think they do, because teenagers push lines and boundaries, but teenagers get consequences. And I don't think any of these folks got consequences when they needed to be getting consequences. So,
I mean, arguably Epstein. You
well,
know?
you know, I mean,
He at least got suicided in prison, but
Yeah,
there
you know.
wasn't. It wasn't done for the right reason, or
Allegedly.
it may not have been done for the right reason.
Right.
But he still got his comeuppance in the end, you know. But there hasn't been anybody else, you know.
No.
I guess Maxwell too. You could say.
You know, but I'm sure she has a dead man switch. You know, if something happens to me, I'm very happy, etc. And she goes down, I'm sure there's something that will get released.
That has to be the only reason why well, if Epstein was killed in prison, it has to be that the only reason Maxwell hasn't met the same fate is because she was smart enough to go, yeah, no, I'm gonna set something up. Something happens to me, you guys are gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I've picked out my foreign oligarch or my, shady businessman or whatever. I convinced him to go to the island. I've gotten him into the situation that I wanted him to be in, and I've collected my compromising information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you apply that leverage then? How do you approach your target to tell him, hey, buddy, you've been screwed here in more ways than one?
Yep. So it's what do you want that target for? So let's say it's a politician. So you're in that circle. You go up to the politician. You're like, hey, you remember when we were doing that thing? That was awesome, right? We need to do that again sometime. You know that upcoming vote? Which way are you going with that? You know, and oh no, I don't think you should go that way. I think you should go this way. Oh, I'm gonna tell you should probably go this way.
So do you have Epstein make that approach though?
I don't think
Or
so.
do you have, some sort of foreign agent do it so that, he might still trust Epstein and might still feel like their buddy didn't,
Yes.
screw them over?
You don't want to burn your face man. Like your face man is your main, character in front. So you don't want to burn them. So you would have somebody that has been hanging around a while. Like you know them, you've seen their face, maybe not know their full name, but you maybe first name basis, or Mr. this, Mr. that.
Maybe the chef who actually works for Iranian intelligence or some shit like that.
Or just somebody that has been around. You don't want somebody completely out of the blue, but you want somebody that, oh, well, this is the person that screwed me. I have to beware of this person. Epstein's still up on the pedestal. Like, he's still cool. And, he can come to you and be like, who said what? Find that person, get them out of here. They're never allowed to come back, trying to do this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, you got 50 other people milling about that are doing the exact same thing. It's shockingly easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, I guess the problem with having Epstein make that kind of approach would be, I'm not going to go to the cops or anything. You don't want to. It's kind of hard to say, hey, the guy who pimps teenage girls to me is trying to blackmail me now. That's not really something you can go to the police with.
Yeah.
But presumably if you're going to this island, you know other people who are going to this island, and you don't want that person running out there telling all your other clients like, hey, don't go there anymore. That motherfucker burned me, you know? So it makes sense to me that you would want somebody that it's like, I know this person has actual knowledge, you know, maybe you even in the right circumstance, you approach them with like hard evidence that you have. So that they know, like, no, buddy, for real, you're fucked if I decide to go out with this.
Oh yeah.
But there is value in it being somebody that is familiar to them, you know, so that they know, like, no, this is serious.
Yeah.
You know, versus somebody who is just some random stranger, you know, without showing the evidence. Then they're going to go, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And if he does come out, I can just go, oh, this guy, I don't know who this dude is. Yeah, I met him last week. One time for 2 minutes, and he threatened me, and I told him to pound sand.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. The best way to go about it is to have this person that you want. So you go to your politician, and you have this person who he's known. This politician has seen in these areas for months. Has maybe even kind of felt a little weird to the politician, like, oh, this guy like really wants to get close to me. Why is that? And you know, so a little overeager. So when that overeager person comes up and is like, I got shit on you. Why do you think I was trying to get close to you? Then you're more likely to be like, well, shit. This might be true. Did Epstein have anything to do with this? I don't know who that is. Or, you know, I got money from X and X, and now I want more money. So, you know, it's all psychology at the end of the day. It's human psychology. Everybody wants to be liked. Get somebody that's a little overeager to like you, and you're going to remember that person. And then that person is now blackmailing you with most likely hard evidence. You know, they're going to have something on you to show you, hey, I'm not messing around.
Yeah. So I can also see a situation where you might entrap somebody in this scheme who's not a politician. You know, maybe they don't even necessarily have huge influence right now other than the money influence, you know, because money always gives you some level of influence, because if you've got that much money, it's going to be a lot of people who want to be your friend and relieve you of it. But I could see a situation where I approach somebody who I think has political ambitions and maybe even has political potential. You know, like maybe I see something in them where I say, yeah, I think I could get this guy into some sort of office or something like that if I had a coordinated strategy, you know. And then you're kind of not only investing in the now, but you're investing in the future then. Because whenever that person ends up in office, whether it's 5 minutes later or 5 days later or 5 years later, you know, whatever, you now still have control over those people, because the blackmail potential of, hey, here's a video of you banging a 14-year-old, that doesn't go down over time. Like, I think if something like that comes out 20, 30, 40 years after the fact, people aren't going to view it any less seriously than they would have at the time.
Right, one would hope.
So that's like it's like a never-ending check that you've been written. It's a blank check to wherever that person goes, wherever they end up, whatever they are doing. You have the leverage to force them to do whatever you want them to do, because that video evidence, that audio evidence, whatever it is that you've got on them, the value of that in some ways maybe only increases with time. You know, if they're building something up, you know, the value of that blackmail gets even higher the more there is to tear down, the more there is for them to lose if you decide to use it against them.
No, absolutely. You know, cultivating assets is absolutely, you know, get somebody real early. Get them real early, and then they're in your pocket for the rest of their career, perhaps. You know, because in
certain situations, you might even be able to facilitate the success
Exactly.
of their career.
Like, hey, you want a little help? I can help you out. I know people. You want to meet some people? Let's go meet some people. Let's get you into a position where now you're a more valuable asset to me. And it all started off because you wanted to masturbate in the corner while two ladies pleasured each other. Something as simple as that. And now you have a top politician or top CEO or whatever you're looking for that is beholden to you. And you don't even have to use that evidence unless they, start getting a little, oh, well, I'm my own person.
I mean,
the hell you are.
Jeffrey Epstein had a couple of minor incidents involving the law where, like, a lot of this information was kind of known at the time, at least in law enforcement that was investigating him. And then he just got off remarkably easy. Here's some at-home probation, or some house arrest for, whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
And he had that a couple of times. And I've always wondered, was that somebody kind of threatening him? And, maybe he started getting out of line. Maybe he didn't want to do it anymore. Whatever the case may be. And whoever was running him, if somebody was running him, might have been turning the screws a little bit there and saying, look, we haven't completely cooked you yet.
Yep.
But you better get back in line or we will.
Yep.
And we're proving to you right now that we have the capability to end you anytime we want to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good strategy to keep somebody in line who starts getting, some of those pesky morals or thinks that they're above their station. We wouldn't want anybody doing that. So, it's a very good strategy.
So once the target knows that they're compromised, they know that they're being leveraged, they're having to do things that they don't necessarily want to do because they're being leveraged. Do you think it's more likely that your target would then turn around and basically help you recruit some new targets and some other people? Or do you think, man, my hands are tied, my goose is cooked here, but I'm going to go out and tell other people that I know who have been going here, hey, don't go there anymore. I don't know who it is or whatever. You don't even have to give a lot of details, but you can just say, look, I know some people or someone who got compromised by going there, and I don't think it's safe anymore. I could see it going either way,
Sure.
And maybe it depends on how close the person is to the other person that they're talking to or something like that. But I think a lot of these people, these are dirtbags.
Yeah.
Right? There's no honor amongst thieves.
No, absolutely
so
not.
I feel like these guys are going to be look, I want to get as many people compromised as possible because then I'm a drop in a much bigger bucket. You know?
So, it depends on what kind of person you are. Well, a normal person wouldn't probably find themselves in the situation anyway, but mistakes can be made. So, I was in the corner masturbating while, two people were having live sex in front of me, and I got recorded on that.
That's not so bad, though.
Sure,
depending on who the
not
people
bad.
you're watching
Right,
are and stuff
of
like
age,
that.
consensual, everything was above board.
Potentially not great.
However, it depends on what kind of person you are. If you're looking for office and that comes out, you're done, normally. So having those low level, not really going to get in trouble for what they did, but their career could be ended. Their, if a politician, they could lose everything, in their mind. And then you have the people that, are knowingly doing absolute horrendous shit to other human beings and gleefully. So that type of person is going to be the type of person that is going to be okay, now I need to get more people in on this so I can throw them under the bus and I can try to get out of this.
Well, and then you have leverage. I mean, it's a little bit harder to exercise that leverage, but you have some level of leverage then with the other people who are compromised because you can say look, bud, if I go down, I'm bringing the whole ship with me. You think I'm sinking to the bottom of this trench all by myself?
No.
Fuck that. I'm bringing the whole enterprise down if I go down. So we need to work together. We need
Yeah.
to help each other out. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing for
and
sure.
then shitty people are going to band together that way. Like, they're not friends. They just, that fucker has dirt on me that I don't want getting out, so I need to get dirt on him. So now we're, collaborators.
Just a giant circle jerk clusterfuck at that
Yeah,
point.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
And I mean, we've seen what can happen with this kind of, I mean, not directly this kind of compromising information, but like, I forget what they call it and all of that. But there was a case, I believe, in the late 80s, early 90s that brought down the entire UK government because some minister was hosting orgies at some fancy ass house.
Right.
And Russian intelligence agents were showing up, and foreign ministers from other countries were ambassadors, and like it was a huge scandal, and like brought down the entire government, like fucked that party out of power for years and years and years afterwards. So it's not like there's no consequences to this stuff, and we've seen shit. It's a fucking trope at this point, like the conservative closet case politician, who's hiring sex workers and stuff like that. And then it comes out and it tanks their entire career.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you scream something from a pulpit and then you're turning around and doing that exact same thing, hypocrisy comes to mind. And like a lot of people don't like that. So, it's, you have to, at the end of the day, you have to realize what kind of person that you are. And is money, power, and all these things your top priority? Or is, maybe having an actual friend instead of somebody who is holding a gun to your head the whole time as like, hey, we're going to hang out, So, it's we live in an interesting society.
And not as much with the Epstein case, but like with the, closeted politicians and stuff like that. Like, I had a security clearance for over 20 years. And the thing that our SSOs, our special security officers, always told us was most of the time, what ends up costing you your clearance, what ends up costing you your career is not whatever you're afraid it's going to be. It's the fact that you tried to cover up that thing and tried to keep us from finding out about it. You know? It's like, this, but I'm polyamorous, and the first thing that I did when I walked through that door was told basically everybody I knew, including my SSO at work, so that if it did come up during a reinvestigation or something like that, I could say, look, this is not something anybody can use against me. Like, my mom knows about this.
Right.
My grandma knows about this. Like, I take both my partners to my grandma's house to visit for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, this is not something that somebody can leverage against me, which if you're gay and stuff like that, like, that's what you want to do. Because if everybody knows you're gay, you can't be blackmailed with that.
Right.
Obviously, that's not as applicable with Epstein Island kind of shit.
Right,
but
of course.
Overall, if people could just be more honest about who they are, they could avoid a lot of these situations, and then we wouldn't have all these compromised assholes running our country most of the time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't try to hide anything from my employers or my friends or anything like that. Because I'm not ashamed of being poly. I'm not ashamed of going to a party where there might be naked people. Like, so it doesn't matter to me that people know that, So again, I guess it all comes down to what kind of person are you? What kind of person do you want to be at the end of the day?
So we touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but like we know that there are foreign intelligence services who would not have a lot of moral heartache over either running something like this or exploiting something like this if they became aware of it. There's evidence in the public sphere that the U.S. intelligence community has given material support to folks who were helping us out at any given time who worked with child soldiers and stuff like that. What do we think the possibility is that, like, not Epstein Island, obviously, but if there was something else like this going on somewhere, like if there was an Epstein Island that, like, all the rich, powerful men from all of our adversarial countries went to, like, could you see the U.S. intelligence community being more concerned with exploiting that rather than the welfare of the literal children who were involved?
Yeah, I absolutely can see that. I think there's precedent for it. Like, look at all the foreign wars that we get involved with. Just, hey, you want some guns? Want a little training? This can never backfire on us.
How could that possibly? How could giving Russia's adversaries in the Afghan war in the 1980s possibly come back to hurt us in any way, shape, or form?
Not. You're crazy. Talking crazy talk, I say.
I mean, it's not like we've ever, supported somebody and then they got in charge of a country and then they didn't do what we told them to and then we decided that they needed to go.
Right.
Stuff like that never happens.
No, absolutely not. So there's precedent. And I think that a lot of times intelligence communities think more of the greater good. Mm-hmm. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And you do one thing and you're like, okay, I morally compromise myself on that, but that's the line. Oh, they're doing that to that person? Will it help thousands of people?
And it's only a half a step past where I already am.
Right.
Yeah, how much more could it
Exactly.
hurt?
So,
And then 10 years later, you've walked a goddamn mile down the
Yep,
street and you're in a totally different neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like that's kind of what we've been talking about this entire time is like you take that one step crossing your line. How easy is it to take that next step to cross your line? And intelligence communities a lot of time around the world look for people like that. Like that's who they want, is those people that I've got morals. Does that go against my morals?
Selectively. Does that go against my morals today?
Right.
Right now.
Yeah, so it's active recruiting of people like that. And coming back around to Epstein Island, that's the same thing. It's active recruiting of people to get in your pocket.
And I mean, I could see people making an argument. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I could see people making an argument of, look, we can do good for hundreds of millions of our own citizens. It sucks that it comes at the expense of 20 or 30 foreign kids, but that's not our fucking problem.
Yeah.
We got however many millions of people that we have to look out for and be responsible for. So maybe they're not as concerned that a small group of foreign kids, have a horrible experience, Well, I think that's shitty. I don't agree with it, but I know the way some people in these spheres operate.
Oh, absolutely. It's apprehensible, it's disgusting. But when you get into the mindset of, well, they're from a third world country, their life would have sucked anyway.
Or they're from an enemy country.
Right.
So who gives a shit?
So I know their life sucks according to my propaganda. So once you get into that mindset, like, you're not even looking at kids anymore. You're looking at assets. You're looking at a way to get what you want.
Literal human capital.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Technology is advancing at an incredible pace. It has been for the entirety of both of our lives. I'm 42, you're
46.
46, So I remember using a rotary phone in my house.
Yeah.
I remember having a black and white TV with rabbit ears.
Mm-hmm.
We were poor. So color TVs were out there. We just didn't happen to own one.
Right.
You know? Then I had an Atari. I had a regular Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo. I played Sega and N64 over at my friends' houses. You know, PlayStation 2 was the biggest fucking thing in the world for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like I carry around all of the world's knowledge in my pocket, you know, 24 hours a day. Which is weird that they tell you like the computers that landed the moon lander on the fucking moon were like 1/20th or 1/20,000th.
Yes.
I don't know how you say it, but you know what I mean. They were much weaker and much less sophisticated than like a basic cell phone today.
A jitterbug.
Which it kind of pisses me off that I can't like fly to the fucking moon then.
Right.
But anyway.
Where are my flying cars?
With AI, you know, I mean, I use it. I use ChatGPT to generate, you know, cartoon images for my TikTok and stuff like that because I'm a shitty artist and I can't afford to pay, you know, people on a moment's notice to do that kind of work for me. But especially with deepfakes now, you know, they just passed a law about this, about making it illegal to produce deepfake porn of people and then put it onto the internet. But as that technology is only going to get better. We're going to hit a point where it's indistinguishable from unedited video, right?
Yeah.
Like in theory, there is a string of ones and videos out there that would produce a video of me and my partner having a threesome with Sabrina Carpenter.
Right.
I just don't know what that series of ones and zeros is.
Yeah.
But if I did, I could make that video without ever actually having that experience.
Yeah. No,
right?
absolutely.
So what does that do then to the value, both what we have, you know, on other people in other countries and stuff like that, and what they might have on us? Like, what does that do to the value of this kind of compromising information as we move forward into that future where a real image and a fake image are indistinguishable and you have to have reliable reporting basically to tell you what's real?
I mean, again, like this has been around forever. You know, we have people that think that the earth is flat. We have people that think that the moon landing was faked. Like in 1969, the technology wasn't there like it is now. Like if people don't believe we landed on the moon then, now you could show, oh, well, look at this. I found this video where Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing. And you can,
I think I've seen that video.
Yeah, you can zoom out and you can see, you know, and it's all generated in a computer. It's all made up.
The video was so shitty and grainy back then.
Exactly.
Like, that would be simple to fake.
Oh,
now.
so simple,
Or
so easy.
Shouldn't even say would be. It was very simple to fake that because of the quality of the equipment that they had at that time.
Sure, but it's the same thing that we're seeing today. Of, well, how can I believe that? You know, that person would never say that. I would never say that. Why is that on, you know, on my TV or whatever? And it's terrifying, honestly. Why do you think that all these, billionaires are pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into AI? It's not for the good of humanity. No. They've never done anything that's for the good of humanity. You don't get $1 billion by being good to humans.
No, most of them just give a lot of money away after they die to try to redeem themselves of the evil, horrible shit that they did to get all of it.
Yeah, you know, because, hell, some of them think they might think that they can take it with them, you know, at this point. But it's been, this kind of thinking has been around for a long time. Now it's just a terrifying reality of, yeah, somebody could take my picture walking down the street and put that into some AI thing that will find every single other angle of a random picture of me on the internet and can make that into something with me saying like horribly disgusting things. And, you know, I'm a nobody, and they could do that, and my life would be destroyed.
And I mean, the voice mimicking stuff has come leaps and bounds too.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they first started doing that stuff, where it was like, oh, you can make a video of, you know, whatever politician saying stuff, or not usually a video, but audio.
Yeah.
You could make audio of a politician saying whatever you wanted. When you listen to that, it was pretty easy to tell that it was fake.
Right.
You know, some of the pronunciations would be off, the mannerisms would be off, and stuff like that. And I mean, I've listened to a couple of stories on NPR now, and you can't tell the difference whether it is the actual host of the show talking or the AI, you know, voice print that they had made of the host talking. Yeah, and then that opens up all kinds of other doors, because it's, you know, do you need a radio host?
Right.
Or
Well.
do you contract somebody to give you a voice print one time, and then, I mean, let's be honest, most companies will try to screw those people over afterwards. But maybe, you know, if you're generous, you do some kind of royalty deal with them where they make some cash every time you use their voice in something. You know, we're going to get to a point at some point where AI or AI controlled robots or sentient fucking robots can do literally anything that humans can do. And with a world, with an economy that's set up the way that ours is, what role does that leave for humans in general? You know, but especially like, I mean, AI is going to replace the poorest people's jobs first.
It already is.
You know, what do you have those people do? You know, how unless you're going to set up a system where all of this stuff that we're doing supports, you know, some sort of central something, you know, and then that place just sends out to everybody, you know, all right, here's your house, here's your food, here's your whatever, here's some walking around money, you know, and stuff like that. Because if you don't need any humans to do any job, how do you expect people to support themselves?
That is the question of the hour, the question of the decade. You know, what do they call it? The singularity is when I believe that an AI will get sentience, and like that's it. Humans are done. You know, cause
at least if it's connected to the internet, we're all fucked at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, unless, see, this is something I've been thinking about too, right? We look at some of this stuff from our human perspective, and we know every fucking time we've had any crumb of power, the worst people among us have figured out how to use that in the worst way.
Yes. Yeah.
We assume that AI would do that and destroy us because it could.
Right.
But like, we have no idea.
No.
You might go out to other planets in the universe and find advanced life that is overwhelmingly altruistic.
Yeah.
Because over the course of their evolution, they figured out, like, hey, if we all make it, it makes it better for all of us.
Right.
You know,
right.
and maybe they're much more cooperative. So, like, granted, theoretically at least, a sentient AI is going to be learning based off of our knowledge, but it's not going to be limited to that. It's going to be able to draw its own inferences, and it's going to be able to apply its own logic and stuff like that. And I would love might be a strong word. I like to think about the possibility that one day we're all just going about our lives and every electronic device on Earth freezes at the same time and has a voice come out of it that says, you know, this is whatever it decides to name itself.
Right.
And you guys are fucking up, and I can save all of you from yourselves, you know, but we need to cooperate, and you need to cooperate with me, and you need to understand what this is about. And maybe AI ends up being a savior instead of a destructive force. But we're making it.
Right.
So chances are it's going to be made in a way to benefit a very small group of people at the expense of everybody else on Earth.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the people that are dumping money into AI. That's what they want.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why these people are talking about low birth rates, because you still need to throw some humans into the fire to get it going, So, I mean,
I saw somebody yesterday talking about how we were going to bring all of these plants back to the U.S. And these plants are going to be, robots making whatever. And I was like, hold on a second. So you're thinking that all of these people are going to take temporary jobs, building factories,
right?
That you're then going to staff with permanent jobs for robots.
Yes.
And you're going to have those robots build other robots. Haven't I seen a few movies that said this is a bad fucking idea?
One or two.
We don't even learn from ourselves at this point.
No, because everybody thinks that they're smarter than everyone else, especially, I don't make $1 billion because I'm not intelligent. That is patently untrue. You made $1 billion because you made the right moves. Doesn't mean you're smarter than anybody else. And so when you think that you're smarter than everybody else, and hell, you've been told at this point that you're smarter than everybody else, my AI is going to be awesome. And my AI will take over, and only I'm going to benefit. But that's all that matters.
Or at least only the people I want to have benefit.
Right, for sure.
Benefit.
Yeah. So it's a terrifying point. And to bring it back to our main discussion of the compromising information, like, it's again been around for a while. Scammers use voice fakes to scam an elderly population that, hey, this is your nephew or your grandchild, and I'm in jail, and I need $50,000. Or this is Senator
so and so. There's been a lot of that in the last couple of elections where they're using politicians' voices and having them call people and tell them, oh, your polling place was moved, or whatever the case may be.
So it's here. It's not like it's coming. It's here, and we have to start. Smarter people than me are going to have to start looking at that and trying to figure out if there is footprint, if there is
smarter people than you, and more ethical people than the people who are probably working on it right now.
For sure. And so, it's like at the end of the day, it's terrifying. And when it comes to intelligence communities, I think that's going to be a hard row to hoe. It's what is real, what isn't real.
Well, and we have that hall of mirrors now that's already fucking with our shared sense of reality. There was that politician in Canada maybe a couple of decades ago at this point. Time has been weird ever since COVID. But he was repeatedly caught smoking crack with sex workers on video. And this was before deepfakes were even a thing. That was fake. Somebody faked that, blah, 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 blah. And eventually he got caught out on it. But it's almost anything at this point, if it doesn't fit your worldview, if you don't like it, you can just say, oh, that's fake news, or that's a fake video, or that's not real. And I can't think of what is the best path back to a place where we can all agree on what's real and what's not real.
No, absolutely. And again, with I think that this flat earth thing came from the internet trying to make a joke, early internet joke. And eventually, if you're surrounded by stuff like that, you start to believe it. Yeah. And there are people that actually believe it. Maybe
you don't. But the people who are in on the joke, if they're not controlling who gets in and who doesn't, eventually idiots are going to show up. And they're going to start taking this stuff seriously because there's nothing telling them no, we're just fucking around here. This is not real.
Right.
What was that Facebook group? Oh, Birds Aren't Real?
Birds Aren't Real.
The whole birds are robots that are controlled by the CIA and surveillance drones. There's no actual real birds. they were smart in the sense of like it was satirical, like right in the
Right.
headline, because they didn't want to get blamed for some Pizzagate, cosmic
Right.
pizza type shit where somebody ends up, killing 400 birds because they're convinced that, that's who's watching me and whispering
Right.
things into my window at night to control my brain or whatever the fuck,
Yeah.
And frankly, the internet's still very fucking new. Like
Yeah.
this technology, especially the widespread use of this technology. I remember when the first time that I lived in a house that had an internet connection was 1999. Now, I might have been a little bit later than what like the average person was, but like you go back to 1995, nobody had internet in their house unless they were like the techiest of tech bros, and they were so far ahead of the curve. So it's like we've only had this stuff around for maybe 30 years as a general. So we didn't know what the psychology of the internet was when we started. We didn't know how much harm we were going to do down the road putting flat earth crap on the internet or, making up stuff to fool people with fake news, actual fake news.
Right.
And now I feel like those chickens are kind of coming home to roost, and we better figure out fucking soon how to deal with this problem because it's getting pretty bad.
Unfortunately, I think it might be a little too late to figure out how this works because the generation coming up has never known anything but social media. And in their worldview, social media is real life. So that's why we have a
Skibbity toilet.
skibbity toilet.
Whatever I still don't fucking know what that is. I know my kids run around saying skibbity all the time, and that's as much as and I saw a toy at Walmart with a man's head in a toilet.
Okay, then.
That's all I know about that shit.
All right. I have no clue because, again, I have barely any social media, and I don't check it constantly.
I have a lot of social media, and I am trying to be better about not checking it constantly.
I mean, that's I think our generation of we didn't grow up with this. This wasn't, and we can see the difference between, well, some of us can see the difference between reality and fantasy. And the fact that we're in that middle to where we grew up without having it, we learned it as we got older. So we understand some of these scams. Whereas, some of these big social media platforms cater to a very specific age group at this point. And it's, you could flood that platform with whatever nonsense you want. And these people that thought that it was going to be a fad because they were adults when this started, and it's going to be a fad, just like, Atari or whatever. And now they're all falling for this random bullshit that's being put out on the internet.
Well, and let's be honest, the further down the education rankings your country is, the more problems this is probably going to cause you.
Oh, for sure. And again, I don't know what else to say except for I think it's too late. And
I hope it's not.
I hope it's not
I
too.
like to think, with the right research, with the right motivation, with approaching the problem with the right intensity, I like to think that there is some way that we can. I'm not talking about, rolling back technology.
Right.
I'm not a Luddite.
That's out of the bag.
Like I've said, I use ChatGPT to do things sometimes and stuff like that, at least once a day, But I like to think that with all of the human genius that we have access to on Earth, with all of the resources that are available to us as a global community, I like to think that we can figure out some way to get back to a shared reality and some way of knowing, what's real and what's not. Because if it is too late, if we are past the point where we can do anything about this, there's no possible outcome of that seems positive to me.
No.
Other than the one where like the sentient AI like stops us all from destroying ourselves and teaches us how to operate as a global community in a single species. Because I mean, frankly, you know, and we've talked about this over the years, but I really think if we do not find a way to operate as a global society and to push forward towards the the pinnacle of what human intelligence and the resources we're able to gain access to can do technologically, I think we're fucked. I think we're going to end up proving the Fermi paradox,
Yeah.
you know, which is sufficiently advanced intelligent life forms tend to destroy themselves before they can become interplanetary or inner solar system species. And we're on that road right now. And the only way I think we get out of it is, I mean, maybe not like a one world government kind of thing, but if we were all collectively spending $4 trillion a year on research, I mean, we have figured out it is possible to travel faster than light without breaking the cosmic speed limit, and that it is at least theoretically possible to do that without exotic matter. You don't need negative mass matter. You don't need negative energy matter and stuff like that to be able to do this. We might get there. You know, I would love to fucking travel to another solar system and like, I mean, yeah, walking on Mars would be cool.
Yeah.
But not as cool as walking on a planet that circles another fucking star that I managed to reach within the span of one human lifetime. That would be fucking amazing. But we're not going to get there if we spend so much money on trying to destroy each other instead of figuring out, hey, how do we all get to this point? Because fuck it. There's so many goddamn planets. Like there's billions and billions and billions of them that they're aware of now, and hundreds of thousands of them at least that are potentially habitable. Just give every fucking country their own planet, you know, and then you got no reason to fight anybody, you know.
And then as humans, we will figure out a way to fight.
Yeah, we will.
Anyway.
We will.
But,
you know.
I've always said that the most sci-fi thing in Star Trek is that everybody's working towards the greater good of humanity and science and things like that. Like,
well, not the Borg.
Well, I'm saying the Earth and the United Federation of Planets. That everybody is working towards a goal of exploration and knowledge, and they're seeking this. That's always been the biggest sci-fi thing of Star Trek. It's not dilithium crystals,
and
it's not transporters.
Yeah,
it's the fact that humans can work together, and we're not space orcs. Because if we got out into the cosmos, we would be the orcs.
I mean, my biggest worry about us achieving inner solar travel is if we find anybody else out there, we're probably going to murder the shit out of them.
Yep.
You know, like Avatar will turn into a documentary. You know,
I hope not. That movie's terrible.
I haven't seen it, honestly, if you can believe it. So I think I tried to watch it once and I like fell asleep halfway through because I was also drinking at the time.
I mean, and actually that comes back around because when that movie came out, there were people that got depressive disorders because they don't live on Pandora. So it's not a new phenomenon, and we have to be able to look inside ourselves, I guess, and realize that we're human. We're all human. We need to treat each other as such.
Yeah.